Rob Reiner made movies that made people believe in being good. He showed that friends can help each other feel better, that love can bring people together even when they are very different, and that everyone deserves to be heard no matter how lost they feel. When Rob Reiner was working on a movie, he let the people he worked with share their ideas, which made the stories more interesting and special. These stories became a part of what America is about. Even though Rob Reiner did a lot of great things in his job, there was one thing he could never do. This is a sad story that did not happen on a movie set, but in a person's own house. The person was scared every night. Then something big happened that changed everything. Romy Reiner found her parents inside their home in Los Angeles. They were not moving. She called the police away. Then she called Billy Crystal. Romy Reiner and Billy Crystal had been friends for a long time, 45 years. They met when they worked on the show In the Family. Now their friendship was faced with something bad that is hard to talk about. Romy Reiner and Billy Crystal had a lot of memories together, but now they had to deal with something very sad. Billy Crystal came to the house, saw the terrible things that had happened. He was really upset because something bad had occurred to the family. Billy Crystal was not a friend who showed up surprised, but he was someone who knew the family very well and had seen the problems that were building up over the years before that terrible night happened to the family. Billy Crystal had been close to the family for a time, and that is why he was so shocked when he saw what had happened to the family. After they found out what happened, people in Hollywood were talking about knives. Who was to blame? They were also talking about the possibility of people going to prison. Before all of that, there was a much bigger and more complicated story. This story was about a father and his son. The father thought his son was sick, not a person. The whole family was really worried all the time. They would feel a little better sometimes. Then something bad would happen again, and they would lose hope. The family of this son was always waiting for something to go wrong. They were waiting for the other shoe to drop. The story of this family is really about the son and his father. The father loved his son, wanted to help him. He did not think his son was a person, he just thought he was struggling. For a time, Billy Crystal saw things that people did not see. He saw Rob Reiner trying hard to keep his family together. Rob Reiner was dealing with a lot of problems that people did not know about. These problems were not something that Rob Reiner usually talked about in public. Billy Crystal got to see what Rob Reiner was really going through. Billy Crystal and Rob Reiner met for the time in the mid-1970s. They were at a script reading for All in the Family. Norman Lear introduced Rob Reiner as the guest actor for that week. Billy Crystal was an actor at that time, and he was playing the role of the best friend of Michael Stivic. When they first met, nobody thought that Billy Crystal and Rob Reiner would be friends for 50 years. On the show, Billy Crystal and Rob Reiner played friends. Even when the cameras were not rolling, Billy Crystal and Rob Reiner really became good friends. When the filming stopped, they did not argue like their characters did. Instead, Billy Crystal and Rob Reiner had conversations, and they liked to joke around with each other. Even after the show was over, the friendship between Crystal and Reiner kept going. Crystal and Reiner would play baseball together. They would call each other to talk about their jobs. They knew how tired Crystal and Reiner got from working in the entertainment business. When Crystal moved from New York to Los Angeles for good, Reiner was one of the people who made Crystal feel a little better about the move. Crystal and Reiner did not need to be around each other all the time for their friendship to work, because Crystal and Reiner knew that they would always be there for each other. When Harry Met Sally was made, the relationship between the two men had become more than working together. They were comfortable with each other. The movie felt real because neither one of them was trying to show off. Billy Crystal made Harry seem like a guy, funny, but also a little closed off. Rob Reiner knew when to use dialogue and when to use silence. At the premiere, they sat together holding hands, and the audience was laughing. This was not about making a good movie. The film When Harry Met Sally showed them that their belief in each other was right. Crystal and Reiner had a connection. They did not need to say much to understand each other. This was because Crystal had spent a lot of time with Reiner over the years. Reiner was a director, but Crystal knew him very well. He knew about the things Reiner did in public. He also knew about the things that bothered Reiner. the things that people did not see. Before Reiner became a known director, he was a father, with a lot of worries. Reiner did not often talk about the things that worried him. Reiner's professional reputation grew steadily because of the choices he made on purpose. When he was on the show in the family, people started to recognize him, and he won awards, but he felt like he was not being creative enough just being in front of the camera, so he started to work behind it. The movie This Is Spinal Tap was a kind of comedy. The movie Stand By Me was about when he was a kid and what he remembered. The movie The Princess Bride was a fairy tale with parts, and it also made you feel things deeply. The movie A Few Good Men was about people who had to make choices when they did not know what was right. Reiner's movies were good because they were about people you could trust, and they made decisions. People liked Reiner's movies because they were about characters, and they were meaningful no matter what kind of movie it was. Reiner made all kinds of movies. People who worked with him always said that he was very generous and that he gave others the chance to do a job. He was happy to let other people shine and do their work. His generosity and willingness to help others succeed were things that people remembered about him. For Rob Reiner, nothing changed the fact that his son Nick was very important to him. Nick Reiner was more important than anything that could happen to Rob Reiner's career or what people thought of him. Rob Reiner did not worry about what people would think of him because of the problems his son Nick was having. He loved his son Nick no matter what. Over time, Rob Reiner started to think of addiction as a sickness that affects the way people think and make decisions. He realized that being angry or disappointed was not enough to make the addiction go away. The family had to deal with some tough questions. They had to figure out when they should make Nick Reiner get help and when they should give him some space. Where does helping someone end and making their problems worse begin? Nick went to treatment 17 times. Every time he went to rehab, the family felt hopeful again. Every time he relapsed, it felt like they were back at the starting point. This kept happening year after year. It made the family feel weaker and less sure of things. At the time, Reiner tried to make things seem normal for his other kids. He made sure they still had dinner together, celebrated holidays, and did their routines. He was not trying to ignore the problems with Nick. He wanted to protect the good things that were still working. Days later, Billy Crystal said something that really stuck with people. He quoted, "It's a life." He said, "Each man's life touches many other lives. When he isn't around, he leaves an awful hole." For Billy Crystal, this hole was something he could really feel. There were phone calls that would never be answered again. He had a friendship that was special because they did not need to say much to each other. Now, the other person was gone. The doors of the Brentwood home. People started to find out what happened through the police and the news. The Los Angeles County District Attorney said that Nick Reiner is in trouble. He is looking at 2 counts of first-degree murder. They found a knife that they think was used. If Nick Reiner is found guilty, he could be in jail for the rest of his life with no chance of getting out. The court did not let Nick Reiner out on bail. Now Nick Reiner is being watched closely at Twin Towers Correctional Facility to make sure he does not hurt himself. Rob Reiner really cared about talking things. He thought that people could find something they agreed on without fighting. The movies he made were based on the idea that having friends can make things better, being patient can help people get along, and nobody should be judged by the worst thing they did. In his own life, these ideas were put to the test in a very tough way. What happened was a reminder that when people get sick, or when love and responsibility and the law are all involved, everybody gets hurt. There are no solutions, no perfect choices. Rob Reiner's movies showed that friendship and patience are important, and that is what he believed in. Billy Crystal said something that really makes you think. He said, "It's a life. Every life touches others. When it disappears, it leaves a hole." This is especially true for Rob Reiner. When someone like Rob Reiner is not there, it affects a lot of things, including the movies he made. It also affects the people around him, the story of his life, which he cannot change anymore. The way Rob Reiner lived his life, the way he loved the people around him, and the way he took care of his family, all these things had an impact on the people who knew him. Perhaps the most haunting truth is also the simplest of all. There are battles that, even with all the love in the world, human beings still cannot win. If you enjoy stories like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss the next Behind a Frame story.